Let me ask you something. How many bottles are sitting in your kitchen right now promising to support, enhance, or boost something? Sleep, joints, mood, immunity, metabolism. There's a supplement for everything. But for most of human history, there were no capsules, plastic bottles, or marketing departments inventing ultra-max formulas. There were fields, forests, and weeds growing along dirt paths, and people paid attention. They noticed which plants stopped bleeding, which soothed lungs, which calmed nerves, and which helped the body recover. That knowledge passed from one generation to the next, long before barcodes and supplement aisles. Today we're exploring 17 ancient medicinal plants that traditional healers relied on for centuries. Some may surprise you. One might already be growing in your yard. And plant number 8? That's the one beginners often misuse, and then blame the plant. 1. Yarrow, Achillea millefolium. Yarrow has one of those reputations that sounds almost mythical. Its Latin name references Achilles, the legendary warrior, because it was traditionally used on battlefields to help stop bleeding. And while we're not heading into ancient combat anytime soon, the plant's properties are still fascinating. Traditionally, yarrow was used for minor cuts and wounds because of its astringent qualities, meaning it helps tighten tissues. It was also brewed as a tea to support the body during fevers and seasonal illness. Herbalists often described it as a balancer for circulation and temperature regulation. What's remarkable is how common it is. You'll find it growing in open fields, along roadsides, and in backyard edges. Those delicate white flower clusters look harmless, but the plant carries a long legacy of practical use. Now, that doesn't mean you grab handfuls and experiment wildly. Like many powerful herbs, proper preparation matters. But it's humbling to realize that something so historically valued often grows unnoticed, stepped over, or mowed down without a second thought. 2. Mullein, Verbascum thapsus. If you've ever seen a tall stalk with bright yellow flowers that looks like it belongs in a medieval painting, you've probably seen mullein. It's hard to miss. It stands upright like it's confident in itself, and honestly, it should be. Traditionally, mullein has been associated with respiratory support. Herbal traditions use the leaves in teas and infusions for coughs, congestion, and general lung comfort. The plant's fuzzy leaves are almost symbolic. Herbalists often described it as soothing and protective for irritated airways. There's something beautifully practical about mullein. It often grows in poor soil, abandoned lots, or neglected land. It doesn't demand perfection to thrive. That resilience mirrors how it was historically used, as a dependable support during cold seasons. One small tip when preparing mullein tea: it's important to strain it well. Those tiny hairs on the leaves can irritate the throat if not filtered properly. Ancient knowledge included that detail too. It's amazing how often modern respiratory blends quietly include mullein. The plant didn't disappear. We just put it in a capsule and tripled the price. 3. Comfrey, Symphytum officinale. Comfrey was historically nicknamed knit bone, which already tells you what people associated it with. For centuries, it was used externally to support recovery from bruises, sprains, and minor injuries. Herbal traditions prized it for its ability to support tissue repair. The leaves are broad and rough, while the roots run deep and thick. Traditional preparations often involved making salves, poultices, or infused oils. Here's where we pause and respect the plant. Modern herbal guidance emphasizes external use only due to certain compounds found in comfrey. That's not fear, that's informed practice. Comfrey is a perfect example of how ancient remedies weren't casual guesses. They were specific, they were targeted, and they came with boundaries. It's also incredibly easy to grow. Many gardeners cultivate it for compost enrichment, because of its deep nutrient-drawing roots. So you may already have it growing nearby, not as a medicine, but as a soil helper. Nature is efficient like that. 4. Skullcap, Scutellaria lateriflora. Now let's talk about nerves. Not the dramatic kind, the quiet, humming tension kind. The 2 a.m. Why did I say that in 1994? Kind. Skullcap has long been associated with nervous system support. Herbalists traditionally used it for tension, restlessness, and occasional sleeplessness. It's often described as gently calming without being sedated. That distinction matters. It doesn't knock you out, it helps take the edge off. Historically, it was brewed as a tea or prepared as a tincture. Many people describe its effects as subtle but noticeable, like turning down background static. For adults over 40 juggling responsibilities, finances, aging parents, adult children, and everything in between, that gentle nervous support becomes especially appealing. Skullcap isn't flashy. It doesn't scream miracle. But it carries a long tradition of being there when the nervous system feels stretched a little too thin. And that quiet reliability is often underrated. 5. Elecampane, Inula helenium. If mullein is the gentle sweater for the lungs, elecampane is the old-school herbal hammer. This tall, yellow-flowered plant has deep roots, literally and historically. Traditional European herbalists used the root for respiratory and digestive support. It was especially valued during cold, damp seasons, when lungs felt heavy and sluggish. The root has a strong, slightly bitter taste, not the kind of flavor you sip casually while watching the evening news. But bitterness has long been associated with stimulating digestion and helping the body wake up internally. Here's what's fascinating. Ancient healers often paired elecampane with mullein. One soothing, one stimulating, one soft, one sharp. They understood synergy long before the word became trendy. And that's a theme you'll notice throughout this video. These plants weren't used randomly. They were used thoughtfully, often together. If you're enjoying this kind of deep dive into forgotten knowledge, hit the like button so I know to keep making these. There's a lot more where this came from. 6. Plantago major, broadleaf plantain. Now let's talk about something you've probably stepped on this week. Plantago major, broadleaf plantain, grows in lawns, sidewalks, gravel driveways. Most people consider it a nuisance. Ancient herbalists considered it first aid. Traditionally, the crushed leaves were applied to minor cuts, bug bites, and skin irritations. It has long been associated with drawing and soothing properties. There's something almost poetic about that. The plant we spray chemicals on is the same plant historically used to calm irritated skin. And here's the intriguing connection. While yarrow was used to help stop bleeding, plantain was often used to soothe and support healing afterward. One tightens, one comforts, different roles, same natural pharmacy. Next time you see it, don't automatically label it weed. Sometimes the medicine is the thing we're trying hardest to remove. 7. Black cohosh, Arctea racemosa. Now we shift into a category that becomes especially relevant after you turn 40. Black cohosh has a long history in North American herbal traditions, particularly for women's midlife transitions. Traditionally, it was used for menopausal comfort, hormonal shifts, and occasional muscle tension. This plant reminds us that ancient medicine didn't ignore aging. It addressed it directly. And here's something worth noting. While skullcap focused on calming the nervous system, black cohosh was often associated with hormonal rhythm. Different systems, different layers of support. Aging isn't a malfunction, it's a transition. Traditional herbal systems treated it that way, not as something to fight, but something to navigate. And if you know someone who's navigating that season right now, share this video with them. Knowledge passed along is how this information survived in the first place. 8. St. John's wort, Hypericum perforatum. The important lesson. Here's the plant that proves an important point. St. John's wort has been traditionally associated with mood support and nerve comfort. Herbalists historically used it during dark seasons, emotionally and literally. But here's where beginners make mistakes. This plant can interact with medications strongly. Ancient does not mean harmless, it means potent. That's the mistake people make, assuming natural equals use freely. These plants are biochemical powerhouses. Respect is part of the tradition. And this is exactly why learning about them matters. Not to replace modern medicine recklessly. Not to experiment blindly, but to understand, because knowledge without context can cause harm. Knowledge with context? That's empowerment. 9. Chamomile, Matricaria chamomilla. Chamomile often gets dismissed as that sleepy tea, but its history runs deeper. Traditionally used for digestive comfort, nervous tension, and sleep support, chamomile is one of the gentlest yet most widely respected herbs in European traditions. Notice the pattern: skullcap for nerves, chamomile for nerves and digestion. The gut and brain connection isn't a modern discovery. Herbalists understood that emotional tension often settles in the stomach. Chamomile bridges that connection. And sometimes the most powerful plant isn't the rare one. It's the one sitting quietly in your cupboard that you forgot about. When was the last time you had that chamomile tea before going to bed? Let us know in the comments below. 10. Nettle, Urtica dioica. Yes, the stingy one. Nettle has been traditionally used as a mineral-rich tonic, associated with supporting joints, circulation, and overall vitality. The irony? It stings on contact, yet supports internally when prepared properly. There's a metaphor in there somewhere about life after you hit your 40s. Historically, nettle was valued for nourishment, not just symptom support. That's a shift in thinking, from treating problems to strengthening foundations. And that shift might be the most forgotten wisdom of all. We all remember that one incident as a kid when running in a field straight through some nettle leaves. Not so fun, was it? 11. Dandelion, Taraxacum officinale. Let's talk about the plant you've probably declared war on every spring, dandelion. Most people see it as a lawn rebellion. Herbal traditions saw it as liver and digestive support. The leaves were traditionally used to support fluid balance and gentle detoxification, while the roots were often prepared as teas to support digestion. Here's the interesting part: dandelions are bitter, and bitterness stimulates digestive processes. Ancient healers didn't fear bitter flavors. They valued them. Modern diets? Not so much. And think about the symbolism here. The plant we spray, poison, and uproot relentlessly was historically considered a tonic for internal cleansing. There's something poetic about that. Dandelion also reminds us of a bigger pattern you're probably noticing. Many of these medicinal plants aren't exotic rainforest discoveries. They're common, accessible, persistent, almost like they were meant to be available. Maybe we should think about that more. 12. Elderberry, Sambucus nigra. Elderberry has become trendy again, but long before it was bottled in dark glass with a $29.99 label, it was part of European folk medicine. Traditionally, elderberries were used to support immune function during seasonal illness. Syrups, teas, and decoctions were common preparations. Elderflower, interestingly, was used differently, often associated with supporting fever response. This plant has a long history of being part of winter routines. Families made their own syrups, not because it was fashionable, because it was practical. But here's something important. Raw elderberries need proper preparation. They're not snack food straight off the bush. Again, ancient knowledge included preparation steps for a reason. Notice the pattern emerging? Respect, preparation, moderation. These plants weren't magic shortcuts. They were tools if used correctly. 13. Peppermint, Mentha cross piperita. Now here's one you probably already use. And no, the one peppermint leaf in your mojito doesn't count. Peppermint has long been associated with digestive comfort. Herbal traditions used it for bloating, occasional stomach discomfort, and general gut relaxation. And if you've ever had a heavy meal and instinctively reached for mint tea, congratulations. You're participating in ancient practice without realizing it. Peppermint is cooling, soothing, refreshing. It doesn't overpower. It gently encourages the digestive system to relax. And here's where we connect dots again. Chamomile soothed nerves and digestion. Peppermint focuses more directly on the gut. Ancient herbal systems understood that stress and digestion are deeply connected. Decades before gut-brain axis became a podcast buzzword. Sometimes the most advanced wisdom isn't new, it's remembered. And you should remember that next time you have that nice cup of tea after lunch. 14. Rosemary. Salvia rosmarinus. Rosemary isn't just for roasted chicken. Traditionally, rosemary has been associated with memory support and circulation. In fact, ancient scholars reportedly wore rosemary garlands while studying. Whether symbolic or practical, it stuck. There's even an old saying, rosemary for remembrance. Now, is it a miracle memory cure? No, but it has long been associated with supporting mental clarity and focus. And here's a subtle connection. Earlier, we talked about skullcap calming the nervous system. Rosemary is often described as gently stimulating mental clarity. Calm and clarity, different sides of cognitive balance. Also, it grows easily in pots, on patios, in small gardens. You don't need a medieval monastery to access it. Sometimes the herb you cook with has a deeper history than you realized. And let's be honest, it just smells so good. 15. Garlic. Allium sativum. Talking about smelly things. This one is definitely not as good smelling as rosemary was. We are talking about garlic. Garlic is one of the oldest medicinal foods in recorded history. Ancient cultures used it for immune support, circulation, and general vitality. It was given to laborers, soldiers, even pyramid builders. Garlic isn't subtle. It announces itself, socially and biologically. Historically, it was valued for its antimicrobial properties and heart support associations. Modern research has explored some of these same areas. But beyond specifics, garlic represents something bigger. Food as medicine. Not capsules. Not isolates. Food. And maybe that's the most overlooked principle of all. Before we go further, if you've made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe. Not because I need the ego boost, but because most people won't sit through a 15-minute video about plants. And if you're still here, you clearly care about understanding things at a deeper level. 16. Turmeric. Curcuma longa. Turmeric has roots, literally and culturally, in ancient Indian traditions. Traditionally associated with supporting inflammation balance and digestion, turmeric has become one of the most researched herbal compounds today. But long before capsules and black pepper extract marketing, it was used in food daily. That's important. It wasn't an occasional treatment. It was woven into routine life. And there's something profound in that. Ancient systems didn't always separate medicine from cuisine. They merged them. When something becomes part of everyday rhythm, its effects accumulate gently over time. Not dramatic, not flashy, consistent. I mean, there must be a reason the crown wanted India so badly. We all know about cinnamon, but maybe turmeric played a big role as well. 17. Marshmallow root. Althea officinalis. No, not the sugary campfire kind. Marshmallow root has traditionally been associated with soothing irritated tissues, particularly in the throat and digestive tract. It contains mucilage, a gel-like substance that becomes slippery when mixed with water. That slipperiness is the point. Historically, it was used to coat and calm irritation, almost like a natural barrier. Notice how this connects back to mullein and chamomile? Soothing, calming, supporting tissues gently rather than aggressively forcing change. Ancient herbalism often leaned toward cooperation with the body rather than domination. And that mindset may be the most forgotten wisdom of all. Bonus calendula, Calendula officinalis. And for our bonus plant, we have a flower that looks almost too cheerful to be medicine, calendula. Those bright orange petals might seem like simple garden decoration, but for centuries, herbalists saw something much more valuable. Also known as pot marigold, calendula was commonly harvested, dried, and infused into oils and salves used to soothe irritated or damaged skin. Over time, it built a reputation for gently supporting the skin's natural repair process. It isn't aggressive or overpowering. It works slowly and steadily, which is exactly why traditional healers trusted it. And here's the surprising part. Calendula is incredibly easy to grow. A few seeds in a small garden bed, or even a pot, and it usually thrives, which means one of history's most respected skin support plants could be blooming quietly right outside your door. And here you have it, 17 ancient medicinal plants that will heal you immediately. If you zoom out, you'll notice something interesting. None of these plants promise instant miracles. They weren't used like emergency switches. They were part of daily life, seasonal routines, long-term balance. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Modern culture wants immediate results. Ancient systems valued consistency and observation. Now, this isn't a call to abandon modern medicine. It's not about rejecting science. It's about remembering that humans were paying attention long before clinical trials existed. Some of these plants may grow near you. Some may be available at a local herb shop. Some may already be in your kitchen. But the bigger takeaway? The answer isn't always another bottle. Sometimes it's understanding what grows under your feet and respecting it enough to learn before you use it. If you found this valuable, comment "rooted" below so I know you stayed to the end. And if you want a part 2, where we go deeper into how to start learning safely and responsibly, let me know. Because forgotten knowledge doesn't disappear. It waits. And sometimes, it's right in your backyard.